Hello friends. You are watching 3AZ Vision, an innovative distance learning channel. It is most important and desired that if you are interested in improving your learnings, subscribe to our channel, and click on bell icon to get our future updates. Discounted cash flow techniques. In this model, we discuss two criteria for investment appraisal: the net present value, NPV, and the internal rate of return, IRR. A number of issues related to these two criteria are explored, such as inflation, and taxation effects and Monte Carlo simulation. We discuss here the 5 main techniques, that are: 1. Net present value, NPV. 2. Monte Carlo simulation and investigation appraisal. 3. Internal rate of return, IRR. 4. Comparison of NPV and IRR. 5. Modified internal rate of return, MIRR. Net present value, NPV. The net present value of a project is the sum of the discounted cash flow less the initial investment. Project with a positive net present value should be undertaken. There are 6 main key points which we discuss in detail. Number 1. NPV and shareholders' wealth maximization. The main advantage of the NPV method is that it evaluates projects in the same way as shareholders would do, that is, it focuses on how individual projects would affect shareholders' wealth. Number 2. The effect of inflation. Inflation is present in all economies, and must be accounted for when evaluating projects. Real cash flow have had the effects of inflation removed and should be discounted using real discount rate. Nominal cash flows include the effects of inflation and should be discounted using the nominal discount rate. NPV calculations can be carried out using either real or nominal cash flow. There are main 4 key factors to be elaborated here. 1. Real and nominal interest rates. The real interest rate has removed the effects of inflation and represents purchasing power. When the nominal rate of interest exceeds the rate of inflation, the real interest rate will be positive and vice versa. 2. Real rate or nominal rate. We use nominal rate if cash flows are expressed in actual numbers of any currency that will received or paid at various future dates. We use real rate if cash flows are expressed in constant price terms. 3. Advantages and misuses of real values and a real rate of return. Although, generally companies should discount money values at the nominal cost of capital, there are some advantages of using real values discounted at a real cost of capital. 4. Expectations of inflation and the effects of inflation. When managers evaluate a particular project or when shareholders evaluate their investments, they can only guess at what the rate of inflation is going to be. Number 3. Allowing for taxation. In investment appraisal, tax is often assumed payable 1 year in arrears. There are 4 main factors undertaken. 1. Tax allowable depreciation. 2. Taxation. 3. An alternative and quicker method of calculating tax payments or savings. 4. Taxation and discounted cash flow. Number 4. Taxation exhaustion. Capital allowance in the form of first-year allowances or writing down allowances determine the tax liabilities and after-tax earnings. Number 5. Multi-period capital rationing. Capital rationing problem exists when there are insufficient funds to finance all available projects. There are 2 main key rationing are: 1. Soft capital rationing. 2. Hard capital rationing. Number 6. Risk and uncertainty. Risk can be built into project appraisal using such tools as expected values and different cost of capital. Uncertainty can be described using techniques such as simulation, sensitivity analysis, value at risk, payback, and project duration. So the main factors are 1. Risk. 2. Uncertainty. 3. Project duration. Monte Carlo simulation and investigation appraisal. The Monte Carlo method of estimating a project's net present value assumes that the key factors affecting net present value can be modeled as a probability distribution. It has two main elements as Number 1. Monte Carlo method. The basic idea is to generate through simulation of thousands of values for parameters, or variable of interest, and use those variables to drive the net present value for each possible simulated outcome. Number 2. Project value at risk. The project value at risk is the potential loss of a project with a given probability. Internal rate of return, IRR. The project will only be selected if its internal rate of return exceeds the cost of capital, or target rate of return. The internal rate of return of any investment is the discount rate at which the net present value is equal to 0. Alternatively, the internal rate of return can be thought of as the return that is delivered by a project. Here is main key factor, that is the multiple internal rate of return, MIRR, problem. A project is being accepted based on IRR may be misleading if the cash flows from the project are not normal. Comparison of net present value and internal rate of return. The rule of making investments under the net present value method is that, where investments are mutually exclusive, the one with the higher net present value should be preferred. All investments are independent. All investments should be accepted if they have positive net present value. This is known as net present value rule. The internal rate of return rule states that, where an investment has cash outflows followed by cash inflows, it should be accepted if its internal rate of return exceeds the cost of capital. This is because such investments will have positive net present values. There are main 6 key factors are 1. Limitation of internal rate of return techniques. 2. Mutually exclusive projects. 3. Reasons why the net present value profiles differ. 4. Conflict rankings using the net present value and internal rate of return method. 5. Reinvestment rate. 6. Other factors. Modified internal rate of return, MIRR. The modified internal rate of return is the internal rate of return that would result if it was not assumed that the project proceeds were reinvested at internal rate of return. The modified internal rate of return overcomes the problem of the reinvestment assumption, and the fact that changes in the cost of capital over the life of the project cannot be incorporated in the internal rate of return method. There are some advantages and disadvantages of modified internal rate of return as 1. Advantages of MIRR. 2. Disadvantages of MIRR. At the end, we warm welcome your valuable comments to improve our learning levels. Thanks and goodbye.